We're going to try this again, guys. Welcome back to another session of Meditations with Marinee. And welcome to my channel. If you have not already, I need for you to click like. Even if you've gone to another video or if this is your first one, after you've been in here for a moment, I need you to click like. I need for you to share it with a friend because you know somebody that needs to hear this. And then I need for you to subscribe. So, you guys, y'all won't believe that I had did a whole video, like completed with it just about. And I'm like, I'm almost done. And my son starts calling my phone and it made the video cut off. I think I got to learn how to put on the notification thingy. I haven't figured that out because y'all know I'm not a professional at this just yet. You heard me say just yet. So we're gonna jump right in. So I did last night, I gave you guys, for the ladies, a talk less, listen more. And when I did the talk less, listen more, I talked about the ladies. I was telling them what to listen for, right? And then today, I really want to kind of talk to the men. And I didn't jot down any notes. I just kind of was thinking about the fact that I talked to the ladies about what they need to look for and what they need to listen for. But today, I think I want to just take a moment and talk to the fellas. Let me talk to you. Okay, and so I want to kind of key in on the dating process. So if for those of you that have been following me, or if this is your first time, my channel is for those that are dating typically after marriage, or after marriage, divorce, like it's all that stuff kind of mixed in. And but it's mainly from a Christian perspective. Like, what do you do when you are trying to walk out this process at our age? You know, it's quite different from when we were in our 20s or you were a teenager and you got married, things of that sort. But it's a whole different process. And then it's a different ball game out here. Like, it is just, it's pee in the dating pool. I just got to tell y'all. Some people say it's some other stuff in there too, but I can tell you right now that it is difficult. And so oftentimes people will tell you, you know, you need to just stay with who you're with. And so sometimes when we really think about it, I seen this one picture and I may come back and do a session on it, but sometimes you got people that are matched up that are just not compatible. You know, they just are not, they were never meant to be together. They just got together, and you know, it just was a disaster from that time. And that was kind of like my situation. No matter how we had some good times, we had some great moments, but one of the things that I said in the video that I had already did, y'all, when I tell you these kids, they just, I mean, I was like 19 minutes. I was getting ready to close out and the boy calling on the phone and he done made me mess up the whole video. So I said, well, Lord, maybe that wasn't supposed to go forth. Maybe I had too much jabber in the beginning or something. But I want to talk to the fellas about talk less and listen more. And I'm going to tell you why. Because oftentimes, men, you are visuals. You are attracted to what you see first. So let's say if you guys are on a dating app, most of the people that are in those dating apps, I can tell you right now, they're not in there for something serious. And then those who are in there for something serious, I can tell you from my personal experience that it was just overwhelming for me. I didn't really have a high trust factor, especially the free ones. Now, what I did say is that if I decided to join a dating app again, that I would join one where I'm going to have a paid membership, and a significantly paid membership. And I would only connect with the people who have either paid at that level or higher if I was serious about it, because I know that if they were making that type of investment, then typically they were fairly serious about trying to find somebody that would be a good match for them. That's just my 2 cents about the dating apps. I can tell you that I've been in a couple of groups and I just see it kind of like a continuous cycle. Yes, they would be in my DMs, they would be pinging me up and things of that sort, but because I'm not the hookup kind of girl, I didn't last long anyway. So I wasn't going to get too many, hey, how you doing? And then you got to think about it. In the world that we live in, there are so many women versus men, and then, you know, they're saying, oh, well, you got to put yourself out there. So, you know, you make yourself available, or you send somebody a DM or something like that. But just think, if he's getting 10 or 15 of those per day, if you're not a person that's responding back and forth with him, you're not going to capture his attention unless you're somebody that visually he is attracted to. And because the pool is so big, like, visually attraction is relative. you know, what's beautiful to one man might be beautiful, not be beautiful to another. What is really great for one man might not be great for another man. So I think that portion is just relative. I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but that must have been meant for somebody to know that the dating apps might not really be for you. So talk less and listen more. So fellas, what I want to talk about is finding weeding out people that are only with you just because of what you can do for them. So I know that oftentimes you guys say, well, I'm not interested in her money, this, that, and the other. And one of the things that I hear the fellas talk about, like in the barbershop or in pool, and most recently, you know, a conversation that took place is that, you know, I love my wife and she's great, and you know, they were having some challenges, and he said, well, you know, I just told her, hey, I paid all the bills, like you really living a good life, because I think she doesn't really have to work like a major position to bring to the household. But you know, he basically just said, hey, you complaining about something that there are so many women that would just be really, really happy to be in the shoes that you're in. And he wasn't saying it in a negative way, because when he was talking to me, you know, he loved his wife dearly, and he was like, you know, I love my wife, I'm not looking at nothing else, like, you know, I don't have no room for nobody else. But sometimes he feels like, you know, they're like 10 or 12 years in, he said he just feels like sometimes she's complaining about things that other women would really be appreciative of. And so I'm saying to you fellas that if you are in this phase and this stage of life, if you're on my channel or you're listening to what I had to say, you're here because you either are in the dating pool, you just came out of a marriage, or you might be in a marriage that might be kind of like on the end of that thread. And hopefully one or two things can happen. Either you can get what you need to build that core to make sure that your marriage can be more successful, or you'll get what you need in order to be able to say, you know, I know now that I'm deserving of something different, or something more. And when you're in the dating process, men, what are you vetting? You know, like once you get past she's pretty, or once you get past the who was that? Barbara Brown, them New Edition. I think never trust a big butt and a smile. That girl is poison. Now I can't really say that that's the truth, because there's some of us that just, you know, we got it like that. But what I'm saying is, and I try to make light of things, guys, because sometimes things are so serious that it's just too much. But I want to use an example. So even though my marriage was not successful, my second marriage, it was not successful, and it had its own problems from the beginning. Like there were just some things that I was dealing with the lies prior to. So going back to the talk less and listen more for the ladies, if you go back and listen at that video, one of the things I talked about was a guy who was trying to talk to me and things of that sort. And what frustrated me was that once we really started talking, he was lying from the beginning. And what he didn't understand is, like, for me, that's just, it's non-negotiable, because of the fact that I dealt with so many lies and so many deceptions in my marriage. I will never ever put myself through that ever again, and I will never allow someone to help me to enable them to continue doing that in my life. And not in the name of marriage, no. And so in the dating process, if somebody shows you who they are, you need to believe them. So one of the things that I said on the previous video that I had to just delete, I was saying that I listened to a guy, his name is Tony Gaston, and Tony talked about one time, ladies, if you're really gonna date, you might have to date multiple people. And so I'm saying that because I'm not talking about sleeping with multiple people. I'm talking about if you are truly dating and vetting someone, and you are really trying to get to know them, then you might, I used an example and I said, you know, you might have, I guess I'm gonna have to kiss 100 frogs before I get to my prince. And I don't mean literally kissing 100 frogs. I mean that I may have to go on multiple dates before I actually meet the guy or a guy that I would be interested in getting to know better. Also, fellas, for you, what are you doing that you're listening to what she's saying and what she says her needs are, and whether or not she can meet your needs? Oftentimes men are so much of a doer you guys are going to do. And my brother had to teach me this a few years ago. My oldest sister is 19 years older than me, so there is a huge age gap between us, which means that she always see me as the little girl. It doesn't matter what age I was, like she and I would be like because she saw me as a little girl. She was going to always be 19 years older than me. She was going to always see me as a little girl, no matter how old I got, whatever decisions I was making, no matter how many houses I bought, buying my own car, working on my job. I'm still just a little girl to her. And we were having conflict one time. My brother was like, I need to do this, I need to do that. Well, you need to do this, da, da, da. And I asked him, I said, why do you always choose her side? Like, why do you feel like you need to be involved in this? And he took the time to explain to me that as a man and the type of man that he is, he was like, I solve problems. I want to go in and I want to fix it. And I said, so you feel like you need to fix this? And he was like, yes. And so I had to explain to him that, one, I don't need you to fix it. And two, I better now understand why he responded to certain things that she did when he did and how he did. And what that did is it cut down on the conflict because I truly did understand. So I'm saying that to you men, because if you know that you are a fixer, you meet a damsel in distress, that don't mean that she needs for you to fix everything for her. But that also doesn't mean that the strong woman doesn't need for you to fix things for her. So it's a good balance of finding out, okay, is this damsel in distress just over here and she's a little bit distressed, I just need to change her tire and she's going to be able to go on? Or if it's this woman over here who she knows how to change her tire, but does she still want me to do that? Oftentimes that is kind of confused because many times you all would think that a strong woman does not want those things. And that is the furthest from the truth. So in a couple of videos back, I talked about, if you guys want to go and check it out, it was the one where I was working in the yard, and I think it was called, What Does a Man Think is Masculine, or something like that. And I talked about guys that had said that they felt like I had a masculine, I don't know how they thought that, but in my mind, I was like, what, me? And so, if you think that she is so strong that she doesn't need your help, that's not true. What I can tell you as a woman who I feel I walk in a high level of femininity is when I'm with or in a relationship where that masculinity is moving the way that it's supposed to be, then guess what? I move more in my feminine role. I can move, and I'm not talking about just the roles of traditional people, cooking, cleaning, things of that sort. I can be the softer version of me because I don't have to worry about certain things. I'm not concerned with, what is going on because he is then taking that off of my plate. And so when you think about that, as you are dating men, how many women are only with you because you can pay the mortgage? How many women are only with you because you can pay the electric bill? And I'm not just saying this to the guys, because I said the same thing to the ladies last night. And I also mentioned that in the video to the ladies last night, I talked about take your hand out the cookie jar. And I'm trying to be professional for YouTube. But, I want to say that to the fellas too. Sometimes you're so quick to put your hand over in the cookie jar that then it gives you an illusion or a film over your eyesight that you cannot see. So if you take a step back, and it might be hard, I know y'all say it is. I don't really know, because to me it's all about discipline. Because to me, the first practice of discipline is whether or not you can handle that outside the marriage. Because if you can't handle it outside, then how are you going to handle it inside? It don't change once you get inside. The only good part about that is that then you have access to someone else. But what if you get bored with them? Or what if you get tired of them? Then, you revert right back to that old piece of putting your hand in another cookie jar. So I'm going to come off that soapbox. But my point to you men is that you should make sure that you are vetting ladies that would enjoy just being in your presence. She just want to be around you just because she enjoy being around you. Does she have an interest in your hobbies? Does she think about the things that you are interested in? Because a lot of times at this age of life, if it is a man that has been married, or he's been in a relationship, or he has been cultivating something else for 10, 15, 20 years, a lot of times he gave up the things that he really wanted to do. He didn't buy the boat that he really wanted because he bought the new Lexus for his wife. He didn't buy the fishing gear that he really wanted because he made sure that she got the Louis Vuitton that she wanted. He didn't buy the, I'm just trying to think what guys like, like my brother is into cars and, motorcycles and fast stuff, and he loves carpentry things, so he's always going to be buying some type of equipment or something of that sort. But, how many sacrifices did he make? And at this stage in your life, how many more sacrifices do you want to make? If you're making that sacrifice for a mate, and remember, we're talking about dating with the intentions of getting married. So I'm not just talking about dating, period. The end goal is to get to marriage. So if you're dating someone and her only comfort in being with you is because of what you can do for her, that's not a good fit. I've talked to a couple of guys recently who they were saying that, some of the young ladies, the only time they talk to them on the phone is when the guy is asking them to go somewhere, or she's calling him to ask him to go somewhere. And, one of the guys that I talked with, just a friend, and he was saying, the thing was, this young lady, he said she called 2 or 3 times a week and she wanted to go out. He said, but then he finally told her, well, had you ever thought about, you paying for the dinner? And he said from the time that he said that, he had not heard from her. Well, how insulting is that? It's just such a unevenly yoked situation, and it paints an ugly picture for good women. It paints an ugly picture for women like myself who, prime example, the young man that I talked about in the previous video, the Talk Less, Listen More, he asked me could he buy me a drink, and I think this is a good point. And he asked me could he buy me a drink that night that he was coming to play pool, and I said no. And one of the things he said to me, he said, let me tell you something about you. I knew different when you said no. And he said, I asked you multiple times and you still wouldn't let me buy you a drink. He said, most women sitting at that bar, if I had asked them to buy a drink, they would have chosen one of the highest priced drinks that were in there, and they probably would have wanted two. And he said they wouldn't have even been willing to buy that drink for themselves, but because I was going to pay for it, they did. That was heavy. That was big. And again, ladies, I'm getting this information right from the horse's mouth. So that is how men see us. In general, that is the experience that they are experiencing. They are not experiencing women that are wanting to go out with them because they genuinely like them, but they're experiencing women that are going out with them simply because she's trying to get attached to his wallet. She wants to get a drink or a free meal. And what that does then is it sets up a negative experience for somebody like me that would be out with you because I genuinely want to be there with you. But yeah, we just so happen to be going to dinner. So I want to not paint that picture. And then I also want to, like I said, y'all, I had did a whole video. And one of the examples that I gave is when I was married to my husband at that time, he used to work overtime. His job would offer like double time on Saturdays, and sometimes on Sundays. If they had a big order they were trying to get out, they would offer triple time if you worked on Sundays. So if they offered it, he always was going to work that, because he'd be like, ain't no way I'm going to leave the money on the table. I'm working the same hours. I'm going to get paid twice as much, or I'm going to get paid 3 times as much. And so he would be like, yeah, I'm going to do them 8 hours. And so one of the things that I would do for him is he liked Subway sandwiches, and he liked a particular one, and he liked it made a certain way. And I would get him one of those sandwiches, say like on a Friday, because I knew he liked for it to sit so that it would get all the juices in. That was what he would say. And so I would get him a sandwich so that he would have it for the next day. And I know that might not seem like much, but in my mind, I wanted to make sure that he didn't have to worry about lunch. If he was getting up and he was going to work, and he was going to work a 10 or 12 hour day, I didn't want him to have to worry about what he was going to eat throughout the day. And sometimes on those weekends, I would get up and cook him breakfast prior to him leaving so that he would have breakfast on the way, and then he would even have lunch for the rest of the day. And then I would even probably plan like dinner, or I would go ahead and cook or prepare something so that he would not even have to think about that. But that was a partnership. That's somebody that's interested in having something more than just you take them to dinner. And so, fellas, again, I think I'm going to do a full video on stop leading with your wallet. Stop allowing your eyes to help you to not be able to hear and see really what you need to see. Get your hand out the cookie jar. That's what you need to do. Because if you do that, then you can hear and you can see clear. You already see clear, but you can't when you got your hand over in the cookie jar. And so, and for guys, sometimes that's a little bit more difficult than for ladies to have that level of discipline. But it really also boils down to, what do you really want? Like, I hear a lot of guys say that they don't want to get married at this age. And I think that that's a very fair process. But I also think that you need to state that at the very beginning of the conversation. I don't want to get married. And you're going to get the don't want to get married type women. But if you really want to meet somebody that you really want to build the rest of your life with and have a good partnership, and you guys build something that you can leave as a legacy for your family, you're going to have to make sure that you're vetting those women that are not just going to dinner with you because she wants to just receive from you, but she also wants to contribute to you. And so that part, oh, I don't know why I felt like that. That's gonna cut like a two-edged sword right there, y'all. And you know, again, having open conversations. Like, I'm just really upfront from the beginning. Just like the guy that I told y'all about in the video yesterday. Y'all should go look at it and get you a good laugh in. But you know, like I told him in the beginning, hey, this ain't going nowhere. we not getting ready to be nothing but what this right here is. And that's probably shooting a couple of games of pool. And I talked about he had a Harley and I was gonna ride that bicycle. That was it. And I told him that from the beginning. But you know, he was trying to go down another route. But the long and the short is, talk less and listen more. Men, make sure that you are vetting her for more than just her looks. Make sure her heart is right. She has a good heart posture. You know, how does she treat her kids? Like, even on the video when I did a few minutes ago, I was like, hey guys, will y'all just tone it down, you know? And so then when I went in there and I told my kids, boy, they just bust out laughing, Lord. They just had a good time with it. But wherever you go, people are gonna say, if you're this person or you're authentically who you say you are, people should be saying the same thing about you no matter where you go. My kids are going to say the same thing about me that you guys get to experience with me. My family is going to say the same. My job is going to say the same. Any organization that I'm connected to, they're going to say she is this way. And that's because what you're getting from me is the authentic me. And that's what the man in my life is going to get. He's going to get the authentic me. He's going to get a yes is yes and a no is a no. And it ain't no in between. Now we might find some gray area every now and then. Let's see, can we negotiate what we negotiating with, and then we'll go from there. But for the most part, you know, whoever a person is, that's who they are. So when you're with her, you need to see, how does she treat her family? How does she talk to her relatives? How does she treat her girlfriends? Like, what does that atmosphere look like? Because that's going to tell you a lot about her. Okay, guys, if y'all like it, I need for you guys to do what? I need y'all to click like. I need you to share it with a friend. And I need for you to subscribe. All right, until next time, have a good one.